Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is your first time joining us. Hi, welcome. If it's not your first time, then welcome back. My name is Ruth and I make videos about living in Germany, the highs, the ups, the lows, the downs, and just everything in between. If it's your first time or if you've been here before and you've not subscribed, then please let me remind you to click the subscribe button and also like this video if you do end up liking it anytime at all where you figured, oh, I actually like this video, I actually like this girl's face, then please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up where you do, and also subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. So without further ado, let's get right into today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 10 things I've learned since living in Germany. If you do not know, I'm actually would always say, oh, I'm new in Germany, but really when you think about it, I'm newer in Germany than I am in my home country, Nigeria. So yeah, but I've been living in Germany for 3 years now, and in that time, I've mostly been studying and also working part time. And I've learned some pretty hard life lessons, which I'm going to be sharing with you because I figured I tend to talk about these things a lot with my friends and with my family members who are also living in Germany. And then most times they're always like, that's so true. Like they can always relate to this. But I realized I've actually not shared this really well on this channel. So, which is why I'm making this. So the first lesson I've had to learn is that the education system is no joke. It's actually really hard and it's important that you take your studies really seriously. So you might be moving to Germany thinking that, oh, I'll just come and do any course just to graduate. Don't do that. You have to find something that you're actually passionate in so that when you realize how hard this thing is, what drives you to finish your studies is your passion and of course the fact that you don't want to fail. So just bear in mind that the education system is no joke, at least for most of us who, by God's grace, we came from families where we didn't have to work and study at the same time during our bachelor's or during whatever stage you were at in life where you didn't have to work and study at the same time because thankfully your parents were covering most of your expenses. When you moved to Germany to do your master's, which was in my case, I had to work and study simultaneously for the first time in my life. And let me tell you, it was not easy. It was and is still not easy, but you kind of get used to it. And then at the same time, you have to figure out how to balance the both of them because you can't fail at school. You lose your visa if you fail at school. And at the same time, you also need to work to study. So you are in an impossible situation between a rock and a hard place where you're realizing, okay, I need to focus on school, but at the same time, I also need to work to make money so I can live here. So it's always, such a hassle, but the education system still doesn't help you because it's quite hard. Quite hard. You might think you're very intelligent, but this place will test your intelligence. So just take note that the education system is not easy. And if you think that you just come here and just bubble your way through it, you can't bubble your way through nothing. You have to study and you have to be serious with it. But then this is the second part of this first point is while the education system might not be a joke, the education system and the education you get at the university still doesn't prepare you for everything you need to. Like it doesn't give you all of the things you need. In Germany right now, I think as at 2023 winter semester, they had like 380,000 international students coming in. Imagine all that 380,000 students graduating, and then the only thing you have at the end of your graduation is your certificate. How do you compete? Especially with the fact that for most of us that are international students, we don't really know how to speak the German language very well. So there is a few jobs in the market that allows for English speakers, and then you're competing with thousands of other international students who during their course of studies actually took their time to gain valuable working experience. Yeah. So essentially what I'm saying is school doesn't teach you or prepare you for life after graduation, which most of us already know. However, there are certain things that you can do even while studying. So as students in Germany, you're allowed to work 20 hours per week. Do not, if you can, and if you're able to, make sure you apply to actual working student jobs that give you the opportunity to work corporate even while you're studying. So with that 20 hours per week, you can actually work in an organization where you actually do real work, not lager jobs. I mean, there are people who have to do lager jobs, and it's okay to do lager jobs for a while, but just don't settle down there and think that that's the only thing you're capable of. As a student, you can actually apply to work student jobs, and these are usually advertised on LinkedIn and all that. You should try to gain valuable working experience through work study or internships or even volunteering. Most times I've had to volunteer even when I felt like really tight with school and everything. I'd had to volunteer somewhere just to gain that experience outside of university and outside of corporate. Sometimes you do things that are outside of, what you're primarily doing simply because you want to learn other skills. For instance, networking is a valuable skill you would not learn in most places. But when you do get out there and you volunteer, most times you get to meet other international students or even interact with the Germans, where you learn more about their culture and you learn more about things, and you get to meet people you originally wouldn't have been able to interact with or work with on a normal day. So try to gain valuable working experience and then try to see how you can balance the both of them if you can. The second lesson I've had to learn is how to make friends, and also learning at the same time how to be okay being by myself. Friendship is hard work, and that's something that you kind of learn as you get older. It's not just about playground friendship that, oh, this person is my friend, and because the reason why they're my friend is because we play on the same playground and we share the same, like we share toys when we see each other. No, friendship is actually hard work, and it requires you to actually spend sometimes money and time on friendships. And as you get older, you tend to realize that, okay, I need to it's harder now to make friends because you have to figure out people who share the same values as you, and also think sometimes the way you do. Most people are fine making friends where they don't have shared values, but for me, all my friends, we have something in common, and we have something that actually ties us together and makes us friends, regardless of what that is. But making friends in Germany is hard. But when you do make friends, some people are good with having multiple friends, and some people are good having fewer friends. But one thing I've learned is that friendship actually costs a lot. I mean, when you get invited to your friends' birthday parties in Nigeria, you maybe, I don't know, I never really had a lot of friends in Nigeria, but you are kind of, your friend covers everything. Like when people invite you out, they cover things like they cover the drinks you get or the food you get or whatever it is that you get because they're the ones inviting you out. But here, if you get invited out, you actually cover your own part of the bill. So if you can't afford it, just say no. Nobody's tying you down. And that's a good segue into the second part of this second point, where it's okay to be by yourself. You have to learn how to be by yourself, do things by yourself. As students, for instance, there are several times where I want to maybe attend a conference that I know would be very good for my own personal career growth. And I'm telling my friends that, hey, do you want to come for this concert, or do you want to come for this conference? And they're like, no, I don't want to do it. Not interested. No hard feelings. I go by myself. I've learned to go on dates by myself because I want to do it. I've learned to travel by myself simply because it's good for my own mental health. So people are innately selfish. Nobody does things that they don't want to do or they don't benefit from it. And that's something that I've had to learn, where if something doesn't benefit me, or if I'm not happy about doing something, it's okay for me to say no. If I don't have the money to go on that expensive trip or go on that expensive date with my friends, I'm saying no. Okay, because they didn't tie you and tie somebody else to this place. But this is just speaking from a place of what I've experienced, where sometimes I want to do things and my friends don't want to do it, but I'm okay going by myself, so I just go on my own. Okay, so you're by yourself most times, and it's learn how to love yourself, learn how to enjoy your own company. You can get things that make it even fun for you, like books, or if you like to watch movies, get a movie, travel by yourself, do solo things on your own, and that's fine. Okay, the next point. The next point is tied to my first point. It's important that you learn how to prioritize, and saying no to certain things is okay. It's important that you learn how to communicate expectations from friendships, expectations from relationships, expectations from whatever kind of relationship it is. It's important that you learn how to communicate those expectations, prioritizing things that are very important to you. Like right now, I'm a student and I'm working at the same time. It's important that I focus on my studies, and also very important that I also focus on my work, because regardless of what it is, whether I like my job or not, it pays me. So it's important. These two things are what takes top priority right now. And whenever I get invited to something that I know that I have work on Monday and someone is inviting me to a party on Sunday, being an adult means you do things and you take responsibilities for your actions. Okay, it's okay for you to say no, and then it's also okay for you to prioritize what is important to you and communicate those expectations to your friends. Nobody should invite me out on a Sunday evening because I have work on Monday or I have school on Monday. So it's okay to say no. That's my fourth thing I've had to learn is making decisions independently. So thinking for myself and by myself independently, and also at the same time while doing that, not losing myself in the process. So remaining grounded. It's very important because for most people who are traveling out of their countries for the first time, you'll be exposed to a lot of new things and a lot of different opportunities and people dragging you here and here and here. It's very important that you understand what your own beliefs are, understand what your principles are, be open to testing out new things and be open to trying out new things, but remain grounded in the things that holds you down. Like for instance, for me personally, it's my belief in God, my faith is very important to me. At the same time, respect for other people and even my family as well. So remaining grounded in those things while also exploring the parts of me where I have to make these decisions for myself and by myself. Like for instance, starting a YouTube channel is not something that I would traditionally, or if I was back at home in Nigeria, do. But this is a new part of myself that I'm actually exploring, and this is something that I'm doing for myself, not because of any other person. Leaving my first university to start a different program, of course I had to take my family into cognizance, but it was a decision I primarily had to make for myself. So a big part of growing up and a big part of being an adult is learning how to make decisions, fail in those decisions, and be okay taking responsibilities for it because you made those decisions for yourself. Okay, so that's my fourth point. Learning how to make decisions independently was a big lesson for me, and also at the same time, not losing myself and remaining grounded. The fifth thing I had to learn is the German system will teach you patience. So you can't rush anything in Germany. If you're coming here thinking that, okay, in my first month, I'm going to get a job, relax and calm down. That's exactly what Germany will teach you, because you can't rush into anything. When you move to Germany, you have to calm down, find an accommodation or find an apartment to stay in that actually gives you the opportunity to register at the city. Registration at the city means you actually have to book an appointment and go to the city registration office to register, and that would usually take 2 weeks to a month to do that. And after you've done all of that, you need to wait for your tax number, you need to wait for a lot of things before you are officially moved in. And then you can now start, or even during that process, start finding or looking for a job. But it will teach you a lot of patience because everything is slow, especially when it comes to the bureaucracy, registration, documentation, all of those things. Very, very slow. So you can't rush any of the steps. You actually have to take things one step at a time. A good hack that I found to this thing is, especially when you want to book at the city registration office, book early in the morning. Usually the portals all open very early in the morning. So someone actually told me this, that between 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning, you have to wake up early to book for appointments online. And that's the way I was even able to get my emergency appointment at the Auslander Behörde when they were like, why haven't I booked for a my residence permit appointment months ago, up until the point where I was about losing my job and my company was saying, oh, you need to submit these documents. I now had to wake up very early in the morning, and finally I was able to book an emergency appointment in order to go there. So just book early. The thing is, I say all this to say the German system will teach you patience because everything is one step at a time. And this is a good segue to say this, that if you're coming to Germany, or one thing I've learned from people who live here, I didn't do it this way, but for some people who borrow money from other people in order to move here, and then the intention is when you move, as you're collecting your block account money, because they pay the money back to you, you immediately send them back home. Hmm. I hate to spell this for you, but that might be very, very difficult, and you might end up putting yourself in an impossible position where every time you get your blocked account money, you send it back home. Means you have nothing left, and you have to pay your house rent because you cannot sleep under the bridge. You also, at the same time, have to pay your health insurance, and then there are certain bills that are mandatory for you to pay every month. So this is a way of saying, try, even if it's that if you do borrow money, you shouldn't be sending everything at the end of the month. You should actually have some things left from your block account to cover some of your expenses. So this is a good segue into saying that your block account money would not take you anywhere. And this was a lesson I learned in my first month, where you get paid your block account money. And I was paying 550 euros in rent when I was living in Munich. So 550 euros gets out of my account immediately. My block account money comes in, and that's 830 euros minus 550 euros. Do the math. And then once that goes, on the 15th of that month, 120 euros leaves my account for health insurance. I also have to pay transportation, and then I have to feed myself. So how much of that is left to send back home? Do the math. So this is, I don't want to seem like I'm speaking from a privileged position, but I'm just saying that you have to think about these things, because in your first couple of months living here, you might not get a job. In fact, at least I can guarantee you that in your first month, you will not get a job that pays you immediately. Even if you get a job, you can't start getting paid until you have your tax ID number. It's very important, again, with German bureaucracy. One step at a time. Take things one step at a time. So, the thing I've learned is investing back in yourself. Very important. You can't spend all the money you earn. You actually have to save some and then invest some back in yourself by learning new skills, paying for that course, or even learning the German language. These things are very important, and in the long run, they pay off. So in a way, it's more like delayed gratification. So you have the money to spend, but you can't spend it because you're currently taking an expensive course or paying for a certification. Also, you shouldn't pay for certifications until you're sure that you can't get it for free, and until you're sure that you actually need those certifications. But sometimes you have to pay for that course, or pay for that language class, or whatever it is that you have to do for yourself. Don't just, my mom used to say it's a power spending. So you like everything you see you want to buy, this new designer clothes, this new, you have the opportunity to buy all of those things. But sometimes you need to patiently wait, figure out what is very important, and then buy those things first and settle those things first. It's a good way to tell you that if you're living in certain cities in Germany, every time you want to renew your residence permit, you need to have a blocked account. So it means you cannot be spending everything you earn. You actually need to save some money, because when it's time for you to renew your residence permit, you actually have to have a certain amount of money in your blocked account. So, or not in necessarily a block account, but in an account where you show them that, okay, see, I have this money in my account, so you can't spend everything you earn. Also, another thing I've had to learn is, as part of this, is leaving things when it no longer serves you. So when events or situation or places no longer serve you, it's good that you just cut your losses and leave. Just forget the sunk cost fallacy that, since I've spent so much effort or time on this thing, I must see it through to the end. You don't have to. If you're in a university program that you absolutely hate, like you absolutely hate it, do your research and find out if it's possible for you to move to a different program, because I don't believe that life has to be that hard. Sometimes it's hard when you do things that are valuable, sometimes it's hard. But then if you're in a place where you're feeling drained or tired all the time and mentally you're just not where you think, like where you should be, like I'll give you an instance of myself where I was studying at Munich and it just was not for me. Like the program, everything was just not for me. At some point, I prayed about it and I left, and now I feel better for it. I'm able to have the time to do things that I want to do outside of school, and I can't imagine doing all of those things if I was still where I was. So avoid the sunk cost fallacy that once I spend so much time doing this thing, I have to see it through to the end. Imagine 2 years from now, what would your life have been if you made that hard decision now and just cut your losses, take your L and move on. So that's another lesson. Point I had to learn is living with other people for a moment is fine. Because when you move to Germany, the most expensive accommodation are like apartments where you live by yourself. And then when you stay in a city, like cities that are quite expensive, Munich, Berlin, Frankfurt, etc. Those cities are very expensive. You tend to pay very high rents. And if you're paying rent for an apartment as a student and your parents are not like super wealthy or you don't have a full-time job, you just be spending a lot of money on an apartment when you can live in a shared flat and split expenses. So living with other people is quite normal, and it's okay to live with other people for a while you settle down and finish your studies, and that's fine. And another thing I had to realize was that people live with people of other genders. It might come off to you as a shock, but it's also fine. Nobody is out there to harm you. Your landlord probably did his screening first before he put those people in his house. So you can live with people from other genders. Things you have to watch out for though is to make sure that if you're a non-smoker like me, I've never had to live in a flat where people smoke. I hate the smell of cigarettes. So those are things like you have to still sort out your non-negotiables when it comes to finding an apartment, and it's fine to live with other people. Just make sure that when you live with other people, you're clean. Okay, please clean your mess when you make it. Don't just make messes and leave it. It's very annoying. I'm speaking from experience. It's very annoying when you make messes and leave it. I find it very irritating because you're an adult. Clean up. So that's another point. You have to live with people for a while. Another lesson I had to learn is that no matter how experienced you are, if you're coming here on the basis of you're coming to study, no matter how many years of experience you have, you would have to do menial jobs for a while. This is my own experience, so yours might be different, but you might have to do menial jobs for a while. These menial jobs are called lager jobs, and that's fine. You just have to put your pride somewhere in your traveling bag and do those jobs just to survive, at least for a while you're trying to sort yourself out and get a work student job or whatever it is. But it's okay, okay, and you'll be fine. Most of us are fine right now, but we started all out doing menial jobs. That's fine. That's okay. And you'll be fine. Okay. The next point is you don't have to live the way other people are living their lives. Instagram is only a highlight reel, and I can tell you this for a fact that sometimes what people show you on Instagram is never an actual reflection of their lives. And then there are different kind of people that are actually living here in Germany. There are people whose families are here. Yes. There are people who come from very wealthy backgrounds. They are not sponsoring their lives realistically. Their parents are covering most of their expenses. And then there are people who are actually working full time but are just studying on the side, part time. Those people exist. So when you come to Germany and you are studying full time and working part time, you can't be living your life the way those people live their life. You can't be. Some people do it. Some people travel a lot because that's what they find comfort in. That's fine. But for me, I have learned that personally, I cannot, with the right frame and maintain my sanity when I have to do things like, okay, I have to go to the gym 3 times a week. first of all, can I afford it? Can I actually do it? Like, can I afford it time wise? And can I actually do these things? Or my friends are traveling to this place, so I have to go with them to travel to Prague or to travel to wherever it is, Berlin or anywhere else. Can I actually afford to do those things? If I can't afford it, then I'm not doing it. Okay, so you cut your clothes according to your size. You can't live like everybody else if you cannot afford to live like everybody else. You have to set your eyes on the price and delay gratification where necessary. That's something that I've had to come to terms with. I'm not everybody else. I didn't come here on the back of anybody, and I'm doing my own thing. Okay. Okay. Another thing I've had to learn is my faith. I've had to learn how to build my faith by myself without the Christian community I was used to at home, without having mummies in the church telling me, oh, Sister Ruth, you are not doing it this way, or you should be doing it that way. Having to learn to build my own faith for myself and learn God by myself is something that I had to learn here. Also, building community and finding community or people who believe in the same thing you believe in, people who are even outside of your faith. Just building your own community here is something that I had to learn and come to terms with. So personally, wherever I am, and I said this thing on this channel before, that whenever I get to a new place, I always find a church to attend, because for me, I always find I'm freer and happier when I am in the midst of people who talk about faith and, Jesus and God, and just talk about how those things affect our lives. You wouldn't find me building community in a place where I know my crowd would not be. So you would not find me in a club, for instance, because that's not me. Realistically, that's not something like that. Those are not things that I value. So I find community among places and people that I value. You will most likely find me in some volunteering something, but I find community, I build community around things that I find to be valuable to myself. So that's something that I'd had to learn. Whatever you value, I'm not saying that going to the club or whatever is necessarily bad in itself, but if that's something you don't value, then do not go there looking for friends, because then you would have to be going there and you'd have to maintain that lifestyle. So if whatever it is that you value, if you like playing games, for instance, find a club or a society where people play games, like play chess or play board games or whatever it is. Find your own people. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. And finally, I've forgotten what point this is, but I've also had to learn that sadness and worrying about the future is a real thing. And let me tell you now, most people are exactly where you are. Most international students are sad when it's winter period because we miss home. And most people, it's okay. Okay, when I first moved to Germany, in my first couple of months, I remember I was always calling my brother and crying to him that, hey, this thing is really hard. Okay, my bed was always wet with tears. There was a particular time my blinds were down. I was sick for a full month and I was living with people, but nobody knew I was sick. I was just on my bed. That's another thing. You have to be intentional about making friends, and then you also don't, like, you're not an island. No human being is an island. You need to have a social life, not at the cost of several things that are more important, but you need to have a social life. So don't hold yourself in. Don't think you're in it by yourself, because you're not. Most people are feeling exactly the way you're feeling, except if for some special set of people. But for most international students, we feel the same way. Most people are sad sometimes, and most people are worrying about their future, worrying about life after graduation, worrying about finding a job, worrying about sadness, and feeling worry or anxiety is normal. Just find people you can talk about it with. If you have those people in your life, make sure you're sharing those things with people you trust, and we'll all be fine. Last we could do okay. Okay. So that's it, guys. That's the end of this video. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. And do not forget to like this video if you did like it, subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, and let me know what you think in the comment section. Are you feeling this way as well? Did you learn some of these lessons? And what other lessons have you learned since living in Germany? Or if you're coming to Germany, what are you looking forward to? I just want to know everything. So please put it down in the comment section, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.